Hi everyone, Scott with CyberScribe.org, and in this video I'm going to be talking about installing Ansible, so let's get to it. Ansible is a DevOps tool and it's used for configuration management, software provisioning, management of servers from a single location, and things like that. So from what you see here, this is our controlling Ansible node. And basically what you have here is you have a hosts file which determines which servers Ansible talks to. And then you have a playbook that runs and gives Ansible instructions to execute on one or more of these target nodes, as you can see. So that's kind of Ansible in a nutshell. And really configuration management in a nutshell too, and that includes other tools like Puppet, SaltStack, Chef and others. Ansible is a good choice because it doesn't have an agent, so really you don't need to install anything on your target node. It just has to have Python. I'm going to be using Python 3, and most things should be using Python 3 now, and basically just SSH access. So you have SSH to your target node there, you have Python 3 on it, you can run Ansible scripts, playbooks. And for this demo, like I said, I'll be using Python 3 for all of my servers, so I'm going to have a controller here, and I'm going to have two target nodes. And what we're going to do is we're going to install a MySQL server on one and a Apache web server on the other, kind of like a basic web install for that. So one other thing to keep in mind is that Red Hat bought Ansible, and we'll just kind of look here. But so Red Hat bought Ansible, and it's still open source, it's still free, but now, if you want to think about it, that it has the support and backing of Red Hat, and that's a pretty big organization, so you can probably feel pretty secure that Ansible is not going to be going away. It's going to be supported for many years to come, and so that's just a good consideration to think of. Also too, just a little aside, Ansible documentation, docs.ansible.com. This is a pretty good site. It gives you examples for a lot of things, and it's a way to keep current with some changes. Some of these things, for example, if you go to Stack Overflow and you might get like a answer from 3 or 4 years ago that doesn't really work anymore because they've made changes. I mean, there's been quite a bit. Well, that doesn't really show you how many, but there's been a lot of changes in Ansible. So if you're looking at like 4 years ago, an answer that might not be the same way to do it. There's might be a better, more proper way to do it per the newest release. So just keep that in mind, that the Ansible docs are good and they're useful. So let's get started with our tasks here. So the first thing we're going to do is make sure Python 3 is installed on your controller and nodes, and really just Python 3. Just check it, make sure it is there, and it is. So this here is Ansible. This is my controller node, and I'm just going to be working from this command line here. And really, this documentation is kind of just for reference and just something honestly to fill up the screen. So we'll be working from here. Okay, Python 3 is installed. What else do we need to do? Well, you need to install Ansible. So this is Red Hat, so I'm just going to say yum-y install Ansible, and we'll see what happens. So while this does this, I'm working from Red Hat Enterprise Linux. So if you have a free Red Hat Enterprise, or if you have a free Red Hat developer subscription, you can get free licenses for 16 servers, Red Hat Enterprise Linux servers, which is pretty good. So, but basically, Ansible is already installed. I mean, yum install Ansible if you don't have that. Next thing is I need to just confirm communication with my two nodes. So just ping 01 and then ping 02, just make sure. And we have pings, that's fine. Next thing is you need to set up SSH. So SSH keygen -t RSA. And this will set up an SSH key that we're going to copy over to the other servers next, SRV 01 and 02. So I'm not going to do that because I already did. And next is SSH copy ID root and serve 01. And it just says it's already installed because it's already there. So that's fine. And just the same thing, you do the same thing for 2. And basically all you would have to do is just, put in your password, and then then what you'll have after that is you can do passwordless authentication to both of those. So that's basically what you're doing that for. Okay. Next thing is we're going to do a hosts file in Ansible. So where we're at now is etc Ansible, and this is the directory that things are installed in. So if you go look here and you see that hosts file. So we're just going to look at the hosts file. And hold on. I thought there would be, oh, you know why maybe? Because I have my stuff on top. That's just my guess. Vim should highlight this code. Anyway, as you can see, I just put the nodes that we're going to be working with on top, and everything below is the hosts file. So some good examples, some things like that. Different ways you can do it too, kind of nice. You don't have to, if you have like a lot with a common naming convention. So that's pretty good. So what we have is we have an all section, and then we have my 2 servers there, and then DB serve 1, and then for web 02. So that's pretty simple, and that's just the hosts file. So that's the basically like the master controlling file that tells Ansible what nodes to contact. So that's an absolute must to have. Next thing is a couple other things you can do just to kind of get a little bit into Ansible and what it is. You can look at the documentation for Ansible, and this is the modules that Ansible has, and this will take a minute to load, but it'll basically give you every single built-in node module that you can use. So for example, there's DNF, which is what we're going to use, and that is the new package manager, replaced yum, and you can see that right there, DNF. So basically this will give you kind of an idea of what's available. So I mean, if you're looking for let's say, and then you can just grep Arista. Do they have anything? I'm not sure, no. But, Cisco, of course, they probably got a bunch. Okay, Cisco Spark. And these are just the basic ones. They're not, I'm sure there are other ones that you can install as well, but think of this as like the standard library of Ansible. So, there's yum's going to be in there. Systemd will be doing that later as well to manage services and things. So, just to be aware, there's some different Ansible command line tools, and they provide some good information too. Next thing is we'll just do a quick Ansible command. So ping. So ping's another module. See the -m. That's to indicate that it's a module. All is the hosts in my host file. So if we do this, you'll just see you get a ping right there. So what if we do Ansible web -m ping? See that? So that's just going to do serve 02. Now if we do Ansible db-m ping, it should just do serve 01. Let's check. There you go. So that's basically what this second line here, this is referencing your hosts file and what you have in there. So there's a lot of other things you can do. But what we're going to be doing is working with playbooks, and that's how most things are done in Ansible, as via playbook. So what I did already is I made a directory called playbooks. So let's go in there and we'll take a look. And the demonstration that we're going to be doing today is this web install.yaml, and we'll just we'll go through this and go through a little bit line by line what's there basically. So let's just take a look. All right. Okay, so this is YAML syntax, and this is a playbook. So YAML syntax, just it's a little bit different than if you're a little bit unfamiliar with it. 3 dashes on the top indicates like start here, and at the bottom 3 dots indicates end here. And then if we just go, once you get the hang of it, it's not too bad. The name is just your name. You could put anything here. Hosts all, so this is again referencing your hosts file. You see that hosts all, hosts web, hosts DB. Next is gather facts. So what this does, if you have it on true, it gathers a whole bunch of information about those endpoints, SRV 01 and 02 for me. And really, if you're not going to be using that, it's probably better just not to do it, because it takes a little bit sometimes to get that back. And if you're running through a lot of servers, doing, say, updates or something like that, then it could take some time, needless time, because you're not really using it, so why get it in the first place? And so just think about that. Next is, it's basically a tasks list. And so what we have is, it's just, you see this, it's like kind of a repeating thing. So here, updating, this is like a little block. And then 2 spaces here. That's what these are. That's YAML syntax. Think of dashes, spaces, and colons. That's how YAML works. So even here, if you look right here, here, 2 spaces. And then here, 2 spaces. So just try to keep that in mind. And then, so here, this is our update block. And that's basically just going to use the DNF module, and then these. So if we say here DNF, whoop, not DNS, DNF. So these are the parameters here: update only, update cache, right there, and it gives you some good examples. It's pretty good documentation. So we're going to update, and just FYI, I'm going to put this playbook on my GitHub, and I'll put a link at the bottom, and so you can take a look. I'm not going to do that with the hosts file because it's so simple. I mean, there's really no need, but this would be useful as a reference. Next thing, I'm going to do the last one, and then we'll do the middle one, the block. So here we're going to install MySQL and start that service. This is on the DB section for hosts. Again, we're not gathering facts. And again, we're just doing DNF and just installing MySQL Server with the latest. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to actually start the service with systemd, and then we're going to enable it. So if it reboots, it's going to start up again. So that's what you have right there. And the next one is installing Apache, starting the web service, and opening firewall ports. So we have a little loop in here. So it'll look familiar as you go through these. So again, web hosts from the host file, not gathering facts. And then for a number of tasks, we're installing again. Then we're starting again with systemd. And then here what we have is a loop of opening port both TCP 80 and 443. So what you have is firewall D is the module, and we're going to immediately open these ports. We're going to enable them, and it's going to make them permanently open. So the service is the items that we're looping through. So it's a little bit backwards or upside down, or however what you want to reference it. But you have here is a loop, and there's different ways to do loops, or to iterate through lists in Ansible. There's a couple different ways. So this is just one. Don't think this is the only way to do it. This is just one way. But basically, what you're saying here is you're going to loop over with these two items. And here, these are where your items are going. And then this here, this is Jinja syntax, I believe. So if you're familiar with Flask with Python, and a lot of other web frameworks use a type of templating language, that's what this is right here. So your item, just HTTP, is going to be there, and then it'll go through again and it'll put in HTTPS. So that's what should be happening with this playbook. So again, updating, installing Apache, opening ports, starting the service, and then installing MySQL and starting that one. So that's a playbook. Like I said, I'll put it on my GitHub. I'll put a link below for that, and that can be used as a reference. And that's that. So next, a couple different ways, or well, just one, to check and see how your syntax is. Just make sure that it's going to work as you run through it. Number one, Ansible playbook. This is the command that you're going to use to run a playbook, not Ansible by itself. Ansible-playbook. And then you can say check web install.yaml. And what that's going to do is that's going to go through, and it's not going to make changes on server 01, 02, but it's going to basically check and see if the playbook would go through, if it basically would like cause any errors or anything. So I'm just going to pause this because this might take a minute or so, and then I'll come back. Okay, we're back, and it finished in about a minute, so it wasn't that long. But this is what you're going to see when the playbook runs. You're just going to have this output, and you can make it more verbose, and you can make it extremely verbose if you need to do some troubleshooting to see what's going on. But basically here we don't see any problems, and that's a good thing. So one other thing I believe is Ansible-lint. So I don't think I have it here, but Ansible-lint web. Yeah, so let's just try to install. See if this works. It's been a while. I'm not sure if it's going to. Okay. And basically it's going to just go through the syntax. Go through the syntax and just say whether it's good or not. Trailing white space, little things like that. So good to have good information just on like standards and stuff like that. Next thing, let's just run it and we'll double check some things. So let's just say Ansible. Basically, just take out check here. And again, going to run it. I'm going to pause again because this update might take a little bit. This is a snapshot of a little bit ago. So, maybe not. But we'll come back in a minute and we'll double check some things. And we're back. And that probably took about 10, 12 minutes or so to do all these things. And what we have here is we do see the output that we had before, but this should be changed. So they should have changed installing MySQL, starting the service, opening those ports, starting Apache, and installing it as well, obviously. So let's just do some checks from the command line, make sure it works, and then we'll actually check and see if that default Apache page is up as well. So let's just go SSH SRVL1. This is the database one. So let's go system CTL status MySQL and okay, running. I thought it would be highlighted green, but it shows active. This is what I'm talking about here. It's usually green. I don't know what the deal with the highlighting here. Anyways, shows that it's active. Let's go that and check about HTTPD, which is Apache. Again, showing active. All right. Now let's check if those ports were open. So here, let's take a look. And look at that. Took a while, but that shows that the ports are open. That shows that Apache is installed. We already checked with MySQL and stuff. But yeah, that's it. So with one little playbook, we installed a web server and a database. We configured firewall ports, and we started and enabled both services. And that's kind of just the tip of the iceberg for Ansible and the power that it really gives to users. It's a pretty good skill to have, and it's pretty interesting stuff to learn. So like I said, I will put the playbook up on my GitHub, and I will leave a link in there for it. And stay tuned for future videos, because I'm going to be doing a little bit more on some more Ansible things, and just other types of videos like this. So stay tuned for all that stuff.